I find it perplexing that a party which prides itself on promoting diversity is not allowing the first black woman MP to stand under its colours at the next election. Do you think that they have made a mistake, or do you think that they should reverse this decision? 0345 6060 973. Natasha Clark, our political editor, joins me in the studio. Natasha, this is going to create a lot of ill will within the Labour Party, isn't it?
Yes, and I think Keir Starmer is, if these reports are true, and Labour sources tonight are attempting to try and dampen some of that speculation, saying that they are still awaiting a decision from Labour's National Executive Committee on the future of Diane Abbott, but they're not sort of denying any of the sort of main basis of the Times reporting, saying that it's untrue. This will essentially open a huge dividing line within the Labour Party and the huge row between the left of the Labour Party and some of more centre factions, because he's taking a gamble that he wants to be seen to be reaching out to former Conservative voters over the harder left of the party. Momentum, the campaign group that were instrumental in instilling Jeremy Corbyn and helping him to get elected and to help run the Labour campaign as well during the general election campaign, are furious about this. And I think that this will continue to run. And especially, like you say, Iain, that she has apologised. According to that BBC report, she's undergone anti-Semitism training as well. If indeed that is the case, I think it is going to be a bad look for the party to be seen to not have any forgiveness for Diane Abbott. Like I say, someone who has had a 37-year career in Parliament, the first black woman to be elected for Parliament as well. And like I say, the Labour Party leadership have absolutely sat on their hands on this one, haven't they? And they want to be seen to be separate, of course, from the investigation. And I think the last few years, the Labour Party have been very clear and very adamant that they want a separate process that is nothing to do with people in the leadership, nothing to do with the shadow cabinet, and they want to leave them to get on and do it. But if it is the case, have any Labour MPs misled us about the impact of Diane Abbott's investigation? They were saying that they believe it's going to be wrapped up very soon, but according to those reports, it was wrapped up in December. So a lot of questions emerging about Diane Abbott's future tonight.
But no questions about Angela Rayner. She has been cleared by Greater Manchester Police, which must be an awful relief to her. Just take us through what's happened today.
Yes, so Greater Manchester Police earlier today have said that the Deputy Labour leader will face no further investigation from the cops. That was into allegations about her home, whether she paid the correct amount of capital gains tax or whether she was on the electoral roll in the correct place. There were suggestions that she may have been living primarily in a separate house, which could have potentially been an offence under electoral law. Now, the police are saying today, this is not in our jurisdiction. They've not completely exonerated her. They're just saying it's not for us to decide.
But they could have done that 3-4 weeks ago, couldn't they?
They're saying they wanted to, firstly, investigate completely. I don't really understand what it's taken them quite so long to investigate to find out that it's not in their jurisdiction. But they're saying today that it's now a matter for HMRC and for Stockport Council. And HMRC obviously don't comment on individual person's tax inquiries at all. We don't know whether there will be any form of investigation by HMRC or indeed Stockport Council. But yes, the Labour Party will be absolutely relieved tonight that their deputy leader is off the hook. She took that gamble by saying that she would quit if she was found to have done any wrongdoing. As of yet, there is no wrongdoing to be found, and now the Tories have had a real stick that they have been batting the Labour Party completely taken away.
Any highlights from the day apart from those two stories?
Oh, I think paddleball game with Davey and the Liberal Democrats was my highlight of my day.
If you are of delicate disposition, you might want to just temporarily put your fingers in your ears, because Natasha is about to tell us what Ed Davey looks like in a wetsuit.
I can't think of many words to describe Ed Davey in a wetsuit, but I think it's as quite as your imagination will let you. But yes, he's been up in Lake Windermere with Tim Farron today. I can't...
Literally in
Lake Windermere, as the Liberal Democrats want to talk about sewage that's being pumped into our lakes and rivers. It's unclear whether Mr Davey is all right after this incident.
Please.
Sorry, Sir Ed is okay after this incident, because, is the water at Lake Windermere safe at all? They've been saying no.
The interesting thing is that he fell off this paddleboard 5 times and then admitted that he did it deliberately at least once. And you think, well, that kind of undermines the message. And also undermining the message is the fact that if this water is so full of whatever...
bugs.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Danger.
Why would you want to fall into it 5 times?
Is he trying to get sick and then, would be a lovely
pull a sickie during the election.
A lovely campaign story about how none of our water is safe. But yes, absolute my highlight of the day. It's not Sared's first time dunking himself. A couple of months ago, he was put on pages of all the newspapers when he was in a canoe doing exactly the same thing. It's an absolute classic of the Sared Davey playbook.
How these Liberal Democrats like to have fun, eh?
They do. But you know what? It's getting us all talking. It's probably going to be on the front, not the front pages. It's going to be in the newspapers tomorrow. These pictures of Ed Davey tumbling over. So at least they're being talked about, I guess.
Natasha, thank you very much indeed. That's Natasha Clark, LBC's political editor. Let's go back to the Diane Abbott story. We're going to come to your calls in a moment. 0345 6060 973. Nels Abbey joins me, social commentator who's the author of the satirical book Think Like a White Man. Nels, very good evening to you. Now, your reaction to Labour apparently saying that Diane Abbott will not be allowed to, or that there are no circumstances in which she will be allowed to stand under the Labour banner.
It's an offensively gross mistake. It's an error of proportions that I believe will be learned and taught about as far as history is concerned too. That the first black female MP, perhaps the most racially abused person in Britain today, possibly the world, is being thrown out of the Labour Party, or at least stopped from standing for the Labour Party, over what was effectively a poorly attached email. As in, Diane sent one set of emails and intended to replace it with another one. As she said, the wrong attachment twice over. But what really stuns me here is that Labour would take what's effectively one of their icons and just throw them under the bus. So here's where this is. It seems like Starmer's going that direction. It shocks me. It surprises me. But here's where we are.
Lynn has WhatsApped me saying, so Labour has got room for Natalie Elphicke, but not for a true socialist like Diane Abbott. Absolutely shameful. I'm considering moving my vote. Now, I suspect that Lynn, she may not be alone in this, but I'm not sure how many people would actually move their votes because of it. But what do you make of the allegation that certainly was in the BBC report of this, and I think the Huffington Post, that this investigation was concluded in December? And yet last week on my show, Annalise Dodds, the chair of the Labour Party, who presumably as chair of the Labour Party knew exactly what she was saying, said that the investigation was still ongoing.
Well, it looks like the Labour Party were telling what we would describe politely as untruths, that they were not being completely as generous as you would expect or hope them to be with the truth. But the more important thing here is that the biggest voting bloc in Britain today is pretty much black people for the Labour Party. And black people vote for the Labour Party pretty much for anti-racism purposes. Because when you look at the cultural, social values of black people, they tend to normally be a little bit more the socially conservative side of things. But they vote for the Labour Party for anti-racist purposes. Essentially, they are voting for the Labour Party to ensure that what is happening to Diane Abbott today in her job doesn't happen to them in their jobs. And to see Diane Abbott be put through it, I can guarantee you that it will, you can probably hear my WhatsApp blowing up right now. I can guarantee you that people will march away certainly black Britons, certainly ethnic minority Britons will march away from the Labour Party. I have no doubt about it.
Where to, though? You see, this is the thing. Well, I mean, OK, you've got George Galloway on the left, you've got the Greens on the left. But, I mean, where are people likely to put their votes then?
It's a very good. I think that, look, if Diane Abbott, for example, ran as an independent, I think she'd win. I think she'd do very, very well. I think she'd attract a very, very good support base, and I think she could stand. She stands a very good chance of potentially winning. I think Jeremy Corbyn is probably going to win in Islington North. I think then Galloway himself might trigger a few upsets. So I think and also to the Green movement also is looking increasingly attractive to certain people. But I think that what's going to happen now is that the Labour Party will win this election and will win this election very comfortably, is my prediction. I think what we should be looking to now is 2028 in terms of what emerges from the ashes of this moment right now, and this what I would describe as what's going to be a historical divorce between essentially black voters, the majority of black voters, and the Labour Party, which has been Britain's largest voting bloc for pretty much all my life, certainly.
Nels, good to talk to you. Thank you. That's Nels Abbey, the social commentator.